everybody. Good morning. We have a special musical treat to start off our service today. I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Good morning. We are the Tone Chime group. We're hoping to get bigger. If any of you would be interested, we'd love for you to come up. I'll show you one. I'm sure you've seen them before, but this is what they look like. It doesn't take a lot of talent to play it. You just do this. So, and we're so good at that. So. We decided on a name for the group, and we were so inspired by Mike's sermon last week that we are now the Pinot Noirs. And we're hoping, yeah, you're very inspirational. We're hoping to have more of you join us, so if you're interested, see any of us or Carolyn, who is kind of running the show for us, and we appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, you are. We love it. Yeah, you are.
Get my moya right. I'd be all over the place. That was great. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I wonder if you'll join me in our gathering our spirits together on this fine Sunday morning. We are a community embraced by the mystery of God's love for all creation. We are a community that hopes for the light of Christ, the light that shines in every time, every place, and every life. Within this dynamic community, let us foster connections and experiences that bring meaning to life and help us face the issues of our day. Together, let us strive to live with loving hearts, open minds, and hands extended to all. For we are a community bathed in the love of God, with a lot of love to share. On this Communion Sunday morning, I thought a good hymn for us to sing would be A Place at the Table. I wonder if you'll rise up in body or spirit and join me in this beautiful hymn, A Place at the Table. please be seated. And we like compassion and peace too, but apparently those words do not belong there. I don't know what I was doing when I was typing. We've only sang that song a million times and I screwed up the words. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Faith United Church of Christ on this beautiful, hot and sticky Sunday morning here in Dunedin, Florida, and a special welcome wherever you are for all of our friends online. I hope it's a lot cooler wherever you are because it's brutal down here in Florida. A special welcome to any visitors we have with us today. First-time visitors, return visitors. We are delighted to have you. If you're in person with us, just go ahead and sign our friendship book, which we keep on the table in the gathering space, so we can keep you apprised of all the happenings here. And if you're online with us, if you're on Facebook, remember to share and like. And if you're back on YouTube with us after our 1-week prison ban that I got us into, welcome back, everybody, on YouTube. We'll try not to do that again, violating all those copyrights. But go ahead and remember to subscribe to our page if you're on YouTube. And if you want to get on our newsletter list online, folks, just send a note to office@faithucc.org, and we'll get you on that list. And a great service for you. We have communion today. We have some beautiful music today. Hope you find this to be a meaningful service and a reprieve from the heat to come and just sit in the air conditioning. So if anything, it's worth just that. I don't know why I put the latte art up. That just really looked kind of cool today, didn't it? So welcome to the Faith UCC Coffee House. That actually has a nice ring to it. Hey, we're going to launch into a little sermon theme. I was inspired when I was on vacation. I was at the Minneapolis Institute of Arts, as I usually stop there when we go up to Minnesota, and there was unbeknownst to me, there was a Caravaggio there that was just on loan, and it blew me away. And I got to stand in front of this. The scene's kind of gory. It's the beheading of Holofernes, if you've ever seen the Judith and Holofernes series. But this got me thinking of art and how important art is to us in its many genres. And I thought, that would be a really fun theme for August. So we're going to kick that off today. We're going to call this the Preaching the Arts theme. And today we're going to look at sculpture. This David has been on my mind, that gaze. I want to talk about that look. So we're going to use sculpture today for our sermon theme. And hold on to your seats. Next week, we're going to go into the realm of television. And we're going to talk about Ted Lasso. There's so much in that show that we need to discuss. So many theological implications on forgiveness and humility and love. So we're going to lift out some of those themes. If you haven't seen the series, don't worry. It's still going to make an entertaining sermon for you and hopefully inspire you then to go and watch this amazing series. If you do want to at least see a little bit of it, it's on Apple TV. You can get that free trial thing, you just subscribe for the free trial and cancel it right away and watch just binge the whole series, It's so hot out. What else you got to do? Just sit inside and watch some Ted Lasso. So that'll be the 13th. That'll be our Arts to be television. On the 20th, we're going to talk about spiritual design and Chartres Cathedral, because on that day, we are going to bless our very own labyrinth. So it seemed like a really good day to talk about a labyrinth from the 13th century. This thing is ancient, and it's meaningful. Who's ever been there? Who's been to Chartres? Everybody want a couple of folks, couple of hands. So that should be a fun one, and it's going to be very short because we're going to get outside. The purpose of that day is to go bless our own beautiful labyrinth and our tie to Chartres Cathedral. And finally, on the 27th, I know you've all been waiting. You've all been waiting for this one. I think I've been waiting, what have I been doing this now, 13, 14 years, 13, 14? I've been waiting my whole life to do this sermon. We're going to get into it, folks, on the 27th. We're going to use the art of film, and we are going to talk about Barbie and the theology of Barbie, and especially maybe women's rights. I know I haven't seen the movie yet. Who's seen the movie? Who's seen the Barbie movie? Quite a few of you. Who's going to see it by the 27th? All right, we're on. So you got to come in your pink and your blues and dye your hair blonde. If you have hair, you got to dye it blonde. And we'll just have some fun, So I hope you can enjoy this. It should be a great way to spend August and and, and have a meaningful preaching series. You're going to get called Pinot Noir one week here, and then you're going to be talking about Ted Lasso and Barbie the next. You just don't know what's coming. So I hope you will enjoy. That's a little sneak peek of what's coming, but now we've got our time. We're in our sacred space, and I want to invite you to close your eyes for a moment and just take a few breaths, deep breaths, and try and put Barbie out of your mind for a little while. Breathe in a sense of peace in this holy time, in this sacred space, and into your very own sacred being. It's connected to the rhythm of God in ways that we just can't grasp, yet that is always grasping us, that presence that is never farther than the beat of our own hearts. Breathe that in, that sense of peace. When you breathe out, you let go of some of that anxiety that we all carry. I know we do. These troubled times and this troubled world. Lives that can sometimes just feel out of control. Just let that go. Breathe in this present moment and remind yourself that it is indeed a beautiful moment. I'll pray these words by John O'Donohue, Celtic theologian, called A Morning Offering. Let us bless the night that nourished our hearts, to set the ghosts of longing free into the flow and figure of dream that went to harvest from the dark, bread for the hunger that no one sees. All that is eternal in us welcomes the wonder of this day, the field of brightness it creates, offering time for each thing to arise and illuminate. Let us place on the altar of dawn the quiet loyalty of breath, the tent of thought where we shelter, waves of desire that we are shore to, and all beauty drawn to the eye. May our minds come alive today to the invisible geography that invites us to new frontiers, to break the dead shell of yesterdays, to risk being disturbed and changed. May we have the courage today to live the lives that we would love, to postpone our dreams no longer, but do at last what we came here for, and waste our hearts on fear no more. It's the words of John O'Donohue. Let us now journey ever deeper into this time of worship together with Karen Hector.
Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet God has not forgotten one of these. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? For my Father is my comfort, my prayer. He surely watches me. Whenever I am troubled, whenever clouds arise, when song is way to sighing, and hope within me dies, then He draws me closer to Him. From care He sets me free. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches over me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches over me.
It's so unfair that I have to follow that. Thank you. Our reading today is a psalm of comfort, the third psalm. Hear these words of trust that the not-so-good times in life will never win. Lord, how many are my foes? How many rise up against me? Many are saying of me, God will not deliver him. But you, Lord, are a shield around me, my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I call out to the Lord, and God answers me. I lay down and sleep. I wake again, because the Lord sustains me. I will not fear though tens of thousands assail me on every side. Arise, Lord, deliver me, my God.
Thank you, Diane. That was a tough one to follow, too. It really was. Thank you, Karen. That was beautiful. Such a beautiful song. It really is. So when I first thought of this preaching theme on the arts, one of the first works of art that popped into my head was arguably the most famous piece of art in the world. If you talk to Michelangelo's David, this work of art has been on my mind for a couple reasons as of late. The second and main reason I'll share in just a bit, but the first is because on vacation, I began reading Irving Stone's well-known book, The Agony and the Ecstasy. Has anyone here ever read that book? Anyone ever seen the movie? Oh, okay. I thought more of you would have seen the movie than read the book. Because if you haven't, it's absolutely a fascinating read, and if you don't want to read it, I know the movie is pretty good, so you can cheat and just go right to the movie. In this book, there's a chapter called The Giant. It's about Michelangelo receiving the contract to create for the city of Florence a symbol of endurance and a symbol of overcoming great odds. And they settled on the theme of the little guy beating the big guy in the story of David and Goliath. You all know that, right? From 1 Samuel, as the Florentines saw in themselves the epitome of that story, as they saw themselves as the underdogs flourishing in Italy against much bigger rivals and powers such as Rome. I think they just finished a war, and they did pretty well, so they wanted something to represent their newfound success. So in 1501, with their newly realized courage, the city officials commissioned a very young, at this time, Ninja Turtle named Michelangelo to create that symbol for their city. And interestingly, they tried to give the contract to another Ninja Turtle named Leonardo da Vinci, but rumors are he turned it down because he saw sculpture and the art of sculpting as an inferior art. Believe that? Let's just say there was not, if you read this book especially, there's not a lot of love lost between these two giants of the art world. They really didn't like each other. Kind of funny. So Michelangelo accepts the contract to sculpt the city of Florence, its symbol of itself as the underdog, and sets to work studying the story of David and Goliath. Now, if you remember that classic story, the Israelites are at war with the Philistines, and they are facing one another, each on their own mountain, and there's this large valley between them, and each day, like clockwork, for 40 days, I wonder where we heard that number before, huh? For 40 days, one of the Philistine soldiers named Goliath, a giant of a man that terrified the Israelites, well, he would just kind of come on out of the camp and he'd taunt the Israelites. He'd yell at them, he'd insult them, he'd say terrible things about them. And no one was willing from the Israelites to go out and face him. That's what he wanted. Will someone just come face me? But no one wanted to go face this big giant of a man, not even King Saul himself. He was afraid of this man. So for 40 days, he just keeps coming on out, taunting the Israelites. But finally, a young man, you know him, David, steps up and he says, yeah, all right, about this guy Goliath, I'm pretty sure I can whoop him. That's my own interpretation. That's not King James at all. King Mike. Mike, yes. So the people laugh. I mean, they laugh at David and they tell him, no way, that's impossible. But David will not relent. And he keeps saying, no, I want to go out and whoop this guy. And so finally Saul gives in. He says, okay, young man, go for it. But take my armor, take my sword, take my shield. He puts all that stuff on him, but it's just too big and it's too heavy. So he says, I don't even need any of this stuff. I don't need any of this stuff. So he bends down and he picks up some smooth stones and he takes his staff and he takes his sling. And when Goliath comes out and starts his bellowing again, David goes out to meet him. 1 Samuel then tells us, this is the text, the Philistine said to David, come to me and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the air and to the wild animals of the field. But David said to the Philistine, you come to me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. And then just like the confidence from our psalmist today, David says, this very day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down, and I will cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the Philistine army this very day to the birds of the air and to the wild animals of the earth, so that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord does not save by sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. Taunts him right back, doesn't he? Some pretty tough words. So hearing this Goliath, well, he's peeved. Who's this little guy to talk to me that way? He's peeved, so he runs at David. And you know the rest, right? David takes one of those smooth stones, and with that look, you know, he loads up his sling, and he waits till Goliath is just at the perfect distance, and he slings that thing, and he hits him right in the forehead, and he drops him to the ground. And that's the end of Goliath. And the Israelites are victorious. So with this story, and having looked at a lot of previous artists' work on this subject matter, David and Goliath, including a very famous work by that other Ninja Turtle named Donatello. Is it getting a theme here? Well, Michelangelo took that and then set out to create his own masterpiece. Now, many of you might know the story, but he was given this piece of marble, this is all true, to sculpt his David out of. It's an 18-foot tall marble slab. But this marble had sat there for 25 to 30 years because nobody wanted to work on it. Everybody called it had too many imperfections. It wasn't a good piece of marble. Two other artists even abandoned working on it previously because it was too difficult and too flawed. they said. Rumors were even that Da Vinci, in one of his few attempts at the inferior art of sculpting, he also rejected it because he found it just too difficult and too flawed. But where others saw imperfection, ugliness, and difficulty, Michelangelo saw beauty and symmetry, and he went on to create one of the greatest images of courage and confidence that the world has ever seen. Ever seen. And it really is. I mean, look at that. You see, every other artist that rendered the subject prior to Michelangelo, they made Goliath a part of the scene, generally with David standing with his leg triumphantly on Goliath's head, after he lopped it off with the sword, with his very own sword. It was generally believed that Goliath was of the utmost importance in any telling of this story, so they rendered it literally with Goliath in it, but not Michelangelo. He went a different direction. He sought instead to create not just a particular story from the Bible of one man's victory over his adversary to simply represent one city's view of itself. No, rather he chose to create a universal image of courage and the human capacity to triumph over circumstances and adversities of all kinds. So another David standing on the head of Goliath, it's just that. It's just a Bible story. It's really not all that inspiring, but the courageous gaze, look at that, of those eyes, that determination and confidence, well, it speaks not to just the times of 16th century Florence, Italy, but they can speak to every time and place, and especially every moment when a person has to face something in their life that can seem insurmountable and where the odds are very much stacked against any kind of success. Michelangelo gave us, in other words, a symbol of endurance that lies at the heart of not just David, but every human being that is facing some kind of insurmountable odds. He gave us a symbol that, yeah, the hard times and things seemed stacked against me, but I can do this hard thing. I mean, look at that. Look at that gaze. I can do this. I can win this race. I can survive even when things seem really bleak. And in the end, Michelangelo didn't just give us a sculpture, in other words. He gave us a reminder that within each of us lies a David, a gaze just like that of our very own, a survivor who knows that sometimes things don't look so good, but we can survive. And not only that, maybe we can even thrive. I mean, look at those eyes. Look at that gaze. Just take a moment and look. Stare at those eyes. And trust that you have the same gaze. You have that same look inside of you, ready to stare down the problems and the hard times that inevitably always seem to come and to find us. And there lies the second reason. This sculpture by Michelangelo has been on my mind as of late. It's that gaze. I can't shake it. It's that confident and courageous, I can do this hard thing gaze of those eyes that looks to any situation and says, bring it on. Bring it on. I can get through it. I really think we need to channel that gaze these days. More and more, to be honest. I mean, that's the enduring legacy of this work of art. It's availability of meaning in any context and time and situation, and that includes us right now, today. It reminds us that when the times seem the hardest, as they obviously were for David, well, those are the times we have to dig deep for the courage to go on. I mean, look at us, right? Today, 500 years removed. I mean, I look around at what's going on in the world right now in this seething, boiling cauldron of racism and discrimination and oppression around us. And let's be honest, it can leave you feeling really scared, right? And really depressed and riddled with anxiety. I know, because you've told me that. It could be almost debilitating these times and overwhelming, but it's precisely in these times that we need a reminder not to give up, that we need to channel that gaze right there and stare into the fight and trust that we can overcome it, and that there is more goodness than evil out there in this world, and that the goodness will prevail even against the sometimes insurmountable odds of what we're living through and with. We need that gaze for these times right now. And so many other times as well, that gaze, I mean, just look at it. That gaze is there for you in the situations that we all find ourselves in life, maybe when you're struggling with an illness, or supporting a loved one through theirs, or just living amidst a really hard time personally and through health or mental health struggles. Well, you got to remember that inside of you is that gaze. That gaze right there is inside of you. That you can stare down to situations that just sometimes want to break you, that want to drop you to your knees, that want to lead you to just want to give up. That gaze is there to remind you that you have inside of you a courage as well that can transcend even the worst of times, the pain, the grief, the struggles, the worry. You got to trust that gaze right there. Trust that. That gaze is there for you when life can seem out of control, when the proverbial fires seem to be raging and wreaking havoc in our lives and in the peace that we so long for. But we have that gaze within us to cultivate a sense of courage that we can persevere and we can regain control. We have to channel that gaze, and we got to stare down the problems. I mean, let me ask you a question, each and every one of you. Where do you need that gaze right now in your life? Where do you need that? Where do you need to go inside and pull that gaze out? What are you staring down right now in this moment? Think about that for a moment. Where do you need that gaze? Where do you need to dig deep within yourself with the confidence that Michelangelo left for us in the gaze of those eyes, to find the courage to survive, or maybe the courage to feel joy again, the courage to let go, or the courage to fight, maybe the courage just to not give up, the courage to embrace the change, maybe the courage to forgive, or the courage to speak out, maybe the courage just to accept, or sometimes just the courage to be. Where do you need that gaze right now in your life? I know for me that gaze is, I need it. Personally, with all the upheaval and emotions around letting a child go off to college, you know that, God, I need that gaze. I can do this hard thing. I got to channel my inner David and trust that. Where do you need that gaze right now? Where do you need it in your life? If you want to share, please do. Where do you need that gaze? We all have it in us, but where do you need it? Where do you need to focus it?
Action for justice.
Action for justice. Where do you need that gaze?
At the polling booth.
Polling booth.
Live through my pain.
Live through your pain. You got that gaze in you. Where do you need that gaze?
Protect the environment.
Protecting the environment. Stare it down.
Equal rights for all.
Equal rights for all. Stare it down. Where do you need that gaze?
Schools.
Schools. Just trust that you have it in you. Going back to Michelangelo in closing, I find it astonishing, absolutely astonishing, that the man who gave us this gift right there, this enduring symbol of the David sculpture and that universal gaze of courage and confidence, did you know he was a man who lived with what many describe as debilitating mental illness, depression, and anxiety? Did you know that about him? Yeah. It's strange to say, but I find so much hope in the idea that amidst the hardest of times that he lived, things he dealt with, the problems he faced, that he was able to model what I see as the essence to overcome in that gaze of David. I find a lot of hope in his story of struggle the more I delve into it. And struggle he did. In fact, in a letter he wrote to his father, he left a lot of letters. That's how we know he really struggled. He said, quote, "I live a miserable existence and reck not of life nor honor that is of this world. I live wearied by stupendous labors and beset by 1,000 anxieties. And thus I have lived for some years now, and never an hour's happiness have I had." End quote. It's from Michelangelo. But through David, that he left us, it seems to me that he was still able to see in us, even through all his pain, see in us as human beings an incredible spirit of survival, of overcoming, of courage, and the will to persevere even in the hardest times of life. And that is where I see such hope. And that is why David is not just a sculpture of a Bible story or even an image of flourishing, but really a symbol of incredible depth that we can meet all times of our lives with a gaze that says confidently again, we got this, we can do this, we can do this hard thing. So wherever you find yourselves this day, channel that gaze of determination, born in courage and dripping in hope. Let's let David not be just a work of art to look at and enjoy, but let it be a living symbol of courage and the human capacity to rise up and meet the challenges of the day, no matter what they are. Look at that gaze. And be changed. Peace be with you all. Amen. We're just going to chant now this prayer of peace. It's some beautiful words. Let them just be a mantra of peace for you wherever you are. We'll just stay seated. Peace be with you. We're going to head into a time of communion together. This first Sunday in August. And as we always like to say here for communion, all are welcome at this table. That is the essence of what community should be. It's for everybody. No matter who you are, where you are, what you believe, what you've done, it doesn't matter. All are welcome at this table. So please come forward when our time comes. We have bread and gluten-free bread in the center, and juice will be over here. And if you're not comfortable or unable to come forward, no worries. Diane will come and find you right where you are. But all are welcome. I wonder if you'll join me in our communion invitation. This is one, we've done this one before, but I love its words. Written by Marin Terabasi, one of my favorite liturgists, and she writes such beautiful words. So let's let her take us into communion today. Come to this table because you want to celebrate. Care in illness, comfort in sorrow, healing beyond curing, peace and forgiveness, hope in times of fear or threat. Come to this table because you have discovered your own generosity and you need to start giving. Come to this table because you are willing to love, even when that is awkward, and willing to welcome to limit resources, and eager to offer welcome, knowing you may be rejected. Come to this teeter-totter table where the bakers and the starving touch elbows and touch hearts. And remember that Jesus came from a culture of oasis hospitality. I love that. Stories of manna and grain gleaned, a raven feeding the prophet Elijah, Abigail hurrying to offer a feast, and a Passover meal for which everything stopped and all were fed. Remember that Jesus came from both families' Sabbath evenings, and the rule bearing of grain plucked from a field when someone was hungry. Remember that Jesus remembered that on his first day in the healing business, he lifted up a woman from her fever, and she responded by serving everyone from the generosity of her wellness. Jesus sat and ate at the table. Remember that Jesus remembered that near the end of his ministry, he called a short man from a tree into the forgiveness so abundant it became a meal for the least and lost. Jesus sat and ate at that table too. And we remember that Jesus knew when it was the last Passover how important healing and turning lives around was, and so he took and he blessed some unleavened bread, and he poured out some wine and love freely, inviting us always to share in both brokenness and grace. As we come to a time of prayer, before we join one another at the table, I want to lift up some concerns, bring them into our space in this time. I want to hold up Jeff Kinnear and Betsy, who are in this space right now with us. Jeff had good news in that the spot he was concerned about was benign after a biopsy the other day. But Jeff's still going to be going through a surgery on Wednesday, a pretty extensive surgery. So know that we're thinking of you, Jeff, and Betsy, and you guys got all the love that you need in here and all the support that you need in here. So we're right there with you, with both of you. We can't wait to get you well and out to lunch again soon. So be well this week. We're thinking about you, okay? Julie Del Giorno also, she's out of town, but texted me yesterday to lift up her friend Karina and her mom Karen. Karina's mom Karen, both are recovering from COVID. It's still out there, folks. I think right now it's really growing fast. It's spreading fast, so be careful out there. But Karen, COVID and Karen, that'd be a strange name to give a child, wouldn't it? COVID. Oh, come here, COVID. I know someone that named their boat COVID, and I'm like, why would you name your boat COVID-19? That's bad juju or something, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so Karen and Karina need our prayers. And Karen is in rehab. The mom is in rehab because they thought she had a stroke, but it turns out during all this she didn't, but she still has some rehab to go. So, Julie, I know you're online with us. Give your friends our best, and we'll hold them in our hearts and prayers. Also, continue to hold Cheryl, Barb Turner Delisle's sister, in your heart and prayers. She is suffering from cancer and really has gone through so many experimental treatments and things that they just don't know how much longer she can endure. So it's a tough time for them. So hold Barb and her sister Cheryl in your hearts and prayers. And also hold Bev Grief in your hearts and prayers. Bev is doing better. She's in rehab. She just wanted me to pass on her love for this congregation. And she can't wait till she can get back here sometime down the road. But she is in a time of rehab as well. Hey, a couple of joys before we enter into a little more deeper time of prayer. You all donated 207 pounds of food last week to Dunedin Cares. Thank you, everybody. That is awesome. That's a lot of food to feed our neighbors. And Willard and Carol Kriebel are celebrating 62 years of marriage on August 12th. Carol, I don't know how you do it, but God bless you. Congratulations to a great couple. I hope you have a good anniversary. Will you join me in a little more intentional time of centering ourselves here? And since ancient times, people have gathered together to celebrate the living presence of the Spirit of Christ in their midst, and breaking bread together and sharing wine and juice as a symbol of love and peace and remembrance. And so we also come together on this day, just as they did long ago, to perhaps catch a glimpse of the kingdom of God that Jesus so often spoke about, with its visions of equity and equality, and we're all eat together, we're all enjoy the breads and fruits of the earth in abundance, and we're all who are loved just for being who they are. May this shared act of communion today inspire us toward more wholeness and remind us of our common humanity. And may this meal be Christ-infused and open our eyes to the Christ in the world, in ourselves, and always in one another. Even as we come together to share this meal, we do so recognizing that all is not harmony and peace, but that many in our families, or maybe among our loved ones and our friends, or even just our world, there's so much pain and suffering. So let's just take a moment and speak aloud those people, those places that we hold in our hearts, and just a name is all we need. Let's speak them aloud into this sacred space now.
Marge. Martin.
Nancy.
Phil. Troy. Dory.
Tom.
Jeanette.
Debbie.
Sasha. Ron and Michelle.
My dad.
May all that we hold in this space and in the silence of our hearts find the support and presence to weather the hard times, and may we be bearers of hope amidst the struggles, the pain. Peace be with all of us and our loved ones and our communal and global neighbors amidst the struggles that they are enduring. And may gratitude shine as well from within us for all the joys, the love, the beauty in the world, and the chance to live another day with appreciation, courage, and a sense of peace. I wonder if you'll join me now in a beautiful interpretation I came across, contemporary Lord's Prayer written by Roger Courtney. Will you join me? Great and divine Spirit of love, Amen. Well, why don't we rise up in body or spirit before we come to the table, and let's sing this beautiful song. We haven't done this one in a while. Let us break bread together. The second verse is let us drink wine together. And on the third verse, let us praise God together. And when we start that third verse, please come forward to the table where all is ready. love that moment. I love communion. Will you join me in this prayer of thanksgiving? May we be as living loaves, kneaded and shaped by the hands of God. May we be as wines of the Spirit, poured out that others might know joy. May love be the leaven within. May love be the flavor of thought and word and deed. Peace be among us all in this beautiful world and among all creation. Amen. Amen. You know what? I had a blank announcement page up there. I don't know if we have any. Does anybody have any announcements? It seems so odd without any announcements. Anybody? Carl.
There's no announcements today.
Okay. That is our announcement. There are no announcements today, and there's a sign-up sheet in the gathering space to put your name if there's no announcements today. So thank you. Hey, my friends, I just want to say thank you. That 200 pounds of food over to Dunedin Cares, your incredible generosity in supporting this place to be all that it is in the world. And my God, with what's going on right now, we need the spirit that Faith UCC radiates, especially in this state of Florida with some of the crazy things going on right now. Did you see no announcements? Now I'm just going to ramble, Carl. Thanks. Did you see the AP psychology course that they cut? Yes. My daughter took that last year. My other daughter will not be able to take it now, and it's really unbelievable what's happening. Let's hope we get some real change. The violence up in New York, LGBT violence. I mean, we need this place to be strong, and we need to shine, and we need to be a beacon of hope in the community that they always know there's a place advocating for the good and for the fullness of life for all people. And that's just my long-winded way of saying your support helps us be that. So I want to say thank you for your generosity. If you're online with us, our online friends, and you were like, I want to make a love offering to support the work of this place, you can go to our website and click on PayPal, Vanco, and there's this feature called Bank Auto Pay. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but apparently you can sign up there on our website, and we'll get an article in the newsletter about that. But there's lots of ways to give is basically what that means, and you are so good at it. I just want to say thank you. And if you're in house with us, and you're like, I got all this cash in my pocket, it's driving me crazy. Well, there are plates on the back table there for you to deposit all that cash in as well. Yeah, Mike?
Where are we at on the labyrinth?
Oh, the labyrinth. Well, we're going to bless it on the 20th. We're hoping it's finished. We're just waiting on the path. The landscape company, the paver company is dragging their feet a little bit. So we're hoping to light, if Don is trying to light a fire on him and get him out there, because once that path is finished, it's done and ready to go. So let's hope by the 20th it's complete and we can celebrate it and bless it. Well, we're going to anyway. So, but let's hope they finish it and we're good. But we still need more donations. So if you're looking for a donation to the Labyrinth, talk to Liz Beth. She's right there in the back. Caution tape's coming down. That's good news. So get on out there. It looks like the sun's dropping off a little bit, so it might be a great day to go. And maybe some of our Labyrinth folks can kind of hang around out there and answer any questions on spiritual walking. And we'll talk more about it on the 20th. I can't wait. So thanks for your question, Mike. Hey, I wish you a blessed week, all of you, each and every one of you. I hope it's a great week. Channel that gaze, that Michelangelo gaze. We need that in these times, whatever you're going through. Whatever's causing you stress, just pull that out, keep it handy. Heck, print it up and put it on your refrigerator or something like that. So every time you look at those eyes, you know that you can face whatever it is that's coming your way. So I wish you a blessed and wonderful week. And let's get ready for Ted Lasso next week. We'll have a good time with that one. Don't forget, but let's rise up in body or spirit and sing our way out of here for peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with us.